With Mom always wanting to see Alaska, she graciously offered to take us on a one-week cruise, leaving from Seattle. Since she got a hairline fracture of her toe a week before the trip, we took it easy through the airport, but it didn't slow her down. The ship is the same one Marianne and I took last year, Holland America's Westerdam. After arriving at the port and getting ourselves checked in, we enjoy the incredible views of Seattle.
That cruise line is going that way.
And I think we all circle around this way.
Oh.
And go out that way.
After settling into our veranda cabins and grabbing a quick lunch in the Lido buffet, we decide to explore the ship before we set sail.
Whoa, that's weird.
Deck 3, common aim deck.
There we go.
After a somewhat unorganized safety drill, we're finally on our way.
Good evening. My name is Ben.
After a long day of travel, we settle in for an early evening. The next morning, Ed's up early to hit the gym and his daily tour of the promenade deck. With a full day at sea ahead of us, Donna and Ed and Marianne decide to take a number of computer classes, while Mom and I take a tour of the galley.
Now you know how to do it.
Thank you.
I wish they had classes on that. I want to learn.
Tonight we dress for our first formal dinner, and after that we finish the evening by taking in a show. After our day at sea, our first stop is Juneau, Alaska. start our day whale watching. We meet our tour at the docks to get on our bus to take us to our boat. Our trip starts with a very memorable tour guide.
It was kind of a sad day, but they say a bad day fishing is better than a good day at work. And I never understood that till yesterday. It was my first time and I loved it. It was so cool. Okay, so I'm Stacy and I'm going to be your driver and guide today. We're going to have about a 20 or 30 minute ride. You're recording me. Whoa, okay.
The morning clouds burnt off and we had a wonderful day. They said it was the first clear day they've had in weeks, making for some spectacular scenery.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we are opening up the third deck for wildlife viewing. I do recommend going outside. It's beautiful weather and you'll probably never see bubble net feeding again in your life. So please do go outside, take advantage of the nice weather. Okay folks, so what happens here is these whales go down. One dominant female will blow a ring of bubbles that concentrates the forage fish. They also sing this high-pitched deafening song that drives the fish to the top of the water column. And then they all come up with their mouths wide open, lunge feeding. Here come all the tails. And it looks like we definitely have more than 5. A lot more than 5. Sorry, I was way off at first.
After leaving our spectacular whale watching location, we head toward Orca Lodge and our salmon bake. We arrive on Colt Island in the Orca Lodge. Here we have a late lunch with grilled salmon and chicken, a crispy coleslaw, and a gooey brownie. After lunch we have some time to take some pictures, wander the beach, and look at the local marine life. Our trip of the waters around Juneau end with a trip to Mendenhall Glacier. After leaving Juneau, we enter Glacier Bay the next morning. Our breakfast is accompanied by wonderful weather and spectacular views. As it's been throughout our trip, wildlife is everywhere. Here we see a mother bear and her 2 cubs on the shore, along with more whales and eagles. As we travel further up the bay, the mountains grow larger, and we see our first signs of glaciers, along with the many waterfalls from their runoff.
And the weather's so great.
Oh,
you
it's
know,
not even cold.
Yeah. I was thinking, oh God, we were only looking at the glacier for about like an hour, hour and a half, and I was freezing my ass off. They're going to be looking at them for, you know, from about 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, just 5 hours. I was like, I'm going to be out there all that time. I could freeze your butt off.
You know,
And this is just beautiful.
looking at those rocks, the coloration, and then through sunglasses it intensifies it even more. And,
It like polarizes the light.
yes, it is absolutely beautiful.
Our ship takes us to the headwaters of the bay and the Grand Pacific Glacier. Here you can see it flowing around both sides of this mountain. Most of our time is spent at the Marjorie Glacier, a tidewater glacier, known for its calving. The deep blue ice is the oldest and most condensed, having less air in it than the white.
Oh, yeah.
Being the first sunny days in weeks, we were treated to a large number of calvings. They said you were lucky to see 1 or 2, but it seemed like there was one every few minutes.
Oh, man. Get it?
After leaving Marjorie Glacier, we head toward Johns Hopkins Glacier, with its towering mountains in the background. Taking a cue from Mom, here's a view through her sunglasses. As we leave the bay, the fog comes rolling in, leaving us some time to prepare for a casual dinner. The next morning we arrive at one of my favorite places, Sitka. It's a small town with a lot of Russian heritage. As you enter its picturesque bay, you pass by the large number of forested islands. There's no large dock here, so the cruise ships have to use their own small boats to tender you ashore. The first part of the day we spend on a sea otter tour. Our boat picked us up straight off the ship, and we were off to look at the marine life. It seemed like wherever you go, there are the whales. This time we even got a glimpse of one breaching. But our main destination are the sea otters. After leaving the otters, we head towards some of the smaller islands and the wildlife sanctuaries there. Along the way we see many seabirds, including murres and puffins. People aren't allowed on these islands because they're nesting grounds for the puffins. They make their nests by actually burrowing under the ground, making it easy for people to accidentally step on a nest and injure the eggs of the young birds.
Look at all the birds on the rocks.
We finished up our tour with a visit to the Raptor Center. This is a facility that specializes in the rehabilitation of injured birds of prey.
He does sleep. They're a diurnal species, so they're active during the day. They don't see very well at night, better than we do, but they do sleep at nighttime.
You have a hard time releasing them into the wild after they're rehabilitated?
It's pretty easy because we just kind of give a little toss when we release after we take the hood off, and they're gone. They fly around a little bit, they get their bearings, and we're pretty close to the shoreline, so it's a good place.
Just down from the Raptor Center was a beautiful stream, just filled with spawning salmon. We ended our day in Sitka by spending some time in town, doing some shopping and seeing the sights. We've really been enjoying the food on the trip, and tonight is our second formal night. Here is a peek of the menu. After dinner we caught up with Orlando, the chef who does all the food artistry. He was preparing for a chocolate extravaganza later that night. Our last stop in Alaska is Ketchikan, known for its salmon and its 162 inches of annual rainfall. Luckily again, the day was beautiful. The downtown area has the feeling of a turn-of-the-century mining town with a gorgeous mountain backdrop. We're only here for about 6 hours, so we decided to go on a private tour by Hummer, hoping to squeeze in as much of the scenery as possible. This river is well known for its salmon and for its frequent sightings of bear.
You're seeing what you get. One in town. All natural water. There's nothing leaking out.
Wow, they're so big. They're congregating at the most shallow edge. Swimming dead, I guess you'd say. I mean, they're like all nasty looking.
Big one up there. A lot of fish all over down here.
Well, they're going up the creek.
We were eventually treated to the sight of a mother bear and her young cubs.
Tend to be too much of a problem. The biggest problem is that there's a lot of plastic.
They get the fish right out of that pond. See, those bears are spoiled. They wait for the tide to come in. It captures fish back there in the back that can't swim back. And they're nice fish, too. It's not just the ones that are spawning. It's actually nice fresh 3- and 4-year-olds, too. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Good size for you.
I don't see any fish. I can't. Need to hurry. Take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, bear, yeah, that's right.
See?
You don't hurry, you ain't going to see them because they're just about to go out of sight. Turns out that the male has actually babies that mama and cubs throughout the year.
Our guide took us on some of the back roads that normal tourists don't see, but the ride was a bit bumpy, especially for those in the back.
He's got a log splitter, I think, doesn't he? Yeah.
Our guide had a particular interest in Sasquatch reports, telling us of some recent local sightings, of which Donna found particularly interesting. Finishing up our visit, we did some souvenir shopping at the local stores before we set sail once again. If you ever wonder what happens if you miss the boat, the story was these two guests' tour ran a little late. An option for lunch was grilled salmon on the Lido deck. We then spent the rest of the afternoon just lounging around. I can't forget mentioning our daily towel animals and trying to figure out just what they actually were. One of the entertainers on board was Jeff Peterson, a magician who uses his cute little dog as an assistant.
Pretty dog. Pretty girl. Oh, don't tell me.
She's a coton couturier named Dindy, and we got to meet her close up and personal. Before our last dinner on board, we share some cocktails. After dinner, we'll be arriving in Victoria, Canada. Early that evening, we arrive in Victoria. Looking out over the setting sun gives us another fine photo op. We have about a 10-minute bus ride into town from where the ship is docked.
And the totem poles represent the 6 Aboriginal groups on the Pacific coast of British Columbia. And that museum to the left-hand side is the second best museum in North America for natural history after the Smithsonian, Washington, D.C. And that's according to me. Yeah. So this is a causeway. It used to be a bridge across the harbor. There used to be water underneath us here. Matter of fact, there still is water. This is all reclaimed land. And the Empress Hotel is built on reclaimed land.
Arriving in downtown Victoria, we spend the evening window shopping and enjoying the many street performers.
Go buy some chocolate.
These topiaries are out in front of the Empress Hotel. Mom remembers visiting the tea room here when she was up here with the Model A's.
Those are made out of copper, those domes.
Oh,
And
that's
half
why
of
they're
them-
that color, huh?
Half of them were green because they had oxidized, and half of them weren't because they had recently cleaned them.
Make your mouth a little sound. Can you light the silver torch? Just the silver one. Now hold them up by the light of the torch. Alright, just hold them way up high. Right. You might be tempted to steal my lighter. The company there can take it over there. That's good. Jonathan, can you take my card when you go into
The horse has a little limp. This one on this side.
I don't know.
Early the next morning we were back in Seattle. As we were waiting for our disembarkment time, we watched them refuel the ship from the large fuel barge. To see as much of Seattle in the short time we had, we took a city tour. Our guide drove us by some of the city's landmarks and told us some interesting stories regarding the city's history. Our first stop is the Space Needle and the city park that surrounds it. This is the Tachuli Gardens. Each one of these sculptures are handcrafted from glass. Our last stop is Seattle's famous public market.
Pound of mussels! Pound of mussels!
Hey guys, come on in so you'll walk way down. Come on up, guys. Come on.
That's all? Here can you get $10 or $5 for a bunch like that?
Oh, you can take them with you on a plane?
I don't think so. I don't know.
After a quick lunch, it was off to the airport for our final farewell. Looking back, it's amazing how many things we've seen in just 1 week. We would like to thank you, Mom, for your generosity, and Dad for your many years of hard work that made this trip possible. We will cherish these wonderful memories forever.